Welcome back to the music of Richard Wagner. This is Lecture 18. It is entitled The Ring, Part 2. The Rheingold, Scene 2, a mountaintop clearing. The scene begins oddly. Wotan, the king of the gods, and his matronly wife Fricka awake, having slept on the rocks in a clearing beneath their just-finished castle. Look, I know how inconvenient remodels can be, but shouldn't they be sleeping in a trailer or an RV? I honestly don't get this. Wotan is missing an eye and thus wearing an eye patch. George Bernard Shaw explains, quote, "He plucked it out voluntarily as the price to be paid for his alliance with Fricka, who in return has brought to him as her dowry all the powers of law," unquote. The freshly wakened Wotan is exultant. At last, he has an impregnable fortress from which he can rule the world. Fricka, who went along with the project in order to keep the philandering Wotan under her watchful eyes, immediately reminds Wotan what he promised to pay for the castle. "Reckless man, recall the price to be paid. The fortress is finished, and now you must pay what you pledged." The price Fricka refers to is her sister Freya. A momentary consideration. Let's think about it. Fricka, Mrs. Wotan, Wotan's wife, matronly looking, little understanding of her husband's ambition, obsessed by his infidelity, and harping endlessly about what he spends for housing. My friends, Fricka is Wagner's first wife, Mina, reincarnate. Just listen to the dialogue that follows. Shades of Richard and Mina. Wotan, "If your intention, wife, is to keep me at home, you must grant me that as a god, I must win for myself the world. Everyone who is alive loves variety. It's a pleasure I will not give up." Fricka, "You are a heartless man. For the idle toys of power and dominion, you'd gamble away with ungodly contempt a woman's love?" Well, sure he would, although Wotan adds that he has no intention of giving up Freya to the giants and never did. With that, Freya rushes onto the stage. She has spotted the giants and is in a total tizzy. Wotan is unruffled and asks Freya if she's seen Loge around. It was Loge, also known as Loki, the god of fire and trickster supreme, who had suggested the deal for Freya in the first place, having convinced Wotan that he'd find something better to offer the giants when they came for their payment. The giants. Fasolt and Fafnir lumber in, carrying huge telephone pole-like staffs. They are big, ugly, sweaty, and hairy, and are heralded by a fanfare that's as plodding and lumpy as they are. Hee-haw! Why, if they ain't just a couple of big old working boys. The giants, both basses, although a male soprano would have been a crack up here, have come for Freya. Fasolt does most of the talking, or singing as it were. He is the more vocally lyric of the two and helplessly in love with Freya. Ponderously, he addresses Wotan. "While sleep sealed your eyes, the two of us, unsleeping, built your fortress. Never tiring from our toil, we stacked its massive stones, a lofty tower, a door, and a gate, guard and enclose the great hall within the keep." Fasolt points to the castle and continues, accompanied by the Valhalla motive in the horns. "There stands what we built, brightly shining in the light of day. You can move in now once you've paid us our fee." The giants demand their payment, the goddess Freya. Wotan, like the politico he is, attempts to lie his way out. "Hey guys, I was just joking. What, did you really think I'd give away my sister-in-law? Besides, what do you guys want to do with a goddess anyway?" Easy answer. Fasolt wants her because he's lovesick. Fafnir wants her because her apples keep the gods young, and out of pure spite, he wants to see them age like everybody else. Whatever. Wotan's statement stuns the giants. They are simple working guys, and the last thing they expected was to be stiffed by the king of the gods. Things become downright dangerous when Freya's brothers enter, spoiling for a fight. Donner, the god of thunder, and Fro, the god of spring. But Wotan stays their hands because he rules by contracts, all neatly engraved in runes on the shaft of his spear, which he carries around like a briefcase. And he does indeed have a contract with the giants. An important point. Our modern notion of the gods as being all-powerful does not apply here. For our information, for the ancient Teutons, as for the Greeks, the gods were not all-powerful beings. They were subject to time and change and fate like ordinary mortals. And like the world itself, they were doomed to someday pass away. These Teutonic gods are subject to law and are prisoners of fate. Who should now finally show up but the fire god Loge, who suggested this lousy contract in the first place? He is slippery and untrustworthy, darting around the stage like the flame he represents. Part of the fun of watching the Rheingold is seeing just how campy Loge is played. Wotan blames Loge for the present situation and tosses in a guilt trip for good measure, singing, "I befriended you when no one else trusted you. Now advise me well. When those giants demanded Freya as payment, you know that I agreed only because you promised to find an alternative payment." Loge shrugs and sings with a touch of regret. "To ponder how to release her, that I promised. But to actually find that which never existed? How could that ever be promised?" Oh, slippery fella. Everyone is furious with Loge except Wotan, who understands him. Wotan now asks the right question. "Now listen, sly one. Keep your word. Where have you been?" It's time for Loge's big number, known as Loge's narration. Flitting about the stage, Loge sings, "Ingratitude is always Loge's wage. Concerned only for you, I looked everywhere, feverishly ransacking the ends of the earth to find a substitute for Freya that the giants might approve. I searched in vain, and now I see full well that in the whole wide world there is nothing so rare that a man will accept it in place of a woman's beauty and delight. Wherever there is life and breath, in water, earth, and air, I asked a great deal, inquired of all, where forces stir and seeds sprout. What would a man think greater than a woman's beauty and delight? But wherever there was life and breath, my question was laughed at and scorned. In water, earth, and air, no one will give up love and women. Except there is one I saw who had given up love. For shining gold he renounced the love of women. The innocent Rhine maidens bewailed their plight to me. The Nibelung, dark Alberic, wooed in vain for the maiden's favors. In revenge, the thief stole from them the Rheingold, which he now esteems as earth's rarest jewel, greater even than a woman's touch. For their glittering toy that was torn from the deep, the maidens moaned to me. To you, Wotan, they now appeal to bring the thief to justice and to give the gold back to the waters to remain there forever.